I look for broken. I look for things that lenders own. I look for things that are poorly managed. I look for things with upside. I look, think about a vacant building that you've driven by 100 times. That would be broken because somebody owns it, but there's no rent coming in. So all you do something as simply as finding a tenant for the building. It could be that simple. So, and then once it's, I would call it fixed, then you really just go put debt against it to replace the debt or the money that you already put down.
Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show, and I apologize, I have a little cough, so if I cough every so often, that's what's happening. And our guest today is one of my best friends in the whole world, Ken McElroy. But I'm going to give you a little update, bring you up to speed before Kenny. What happened was, again, I was coming out of the Marine Corps in 1974, and my poor dad said to me, says, well, why don't you get your PhD? I said, my PhD? Yeah, and fly for the airlines because I was a pilot. So many of my classmates flew we flew together the Marine Corps. They went to fly for the airlines. And I said, I don't want to fly for the airlines. I've had enough flying, 6 years of flying. And then, so I asked my rich dad, what should I do? I said, I want to be an entrepreneur like my rich dad. And he says, well, if you're going to do that, you'd better understand real estate. And I went, why? So this is way back in 1974. And I didn't really realize that because you can't see something you can't see. So then with that, I took my rich dad's advice. I took a little real estate investment course. And my rich dad says, because real estate is the object of becoming an investor. In other words, a lot of people invest in a 401k, stocks and bonds, and mutual funds. My rich dad says you have to buy real estate. Real estate, gold, and silver are the basis of wealth. So with that, I took a little real estate course. I had to learn how to buy real estate with nothing down. And this is in Honolulu. How do you buy real estate with nothing and still turn a profit? That was the question. So I finally found a guy who could teach me. And I bought my first piece of real estate on the island of Maui. I paid nothing for it. Cost me, and I made $25. So I paid nothing for this 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It wasn't quite oceanfront, but it was pretty close to the ocean. And I paid for it with my credit card. So it was 100% debt financing, which is what my rich dad wanted me to do. He says, you have to learn how to use debt. There's good debt and bad debt. So back in 1974, I bought my first piece of property. I used a credit card for it, and I made $25. It was an infinite return. In other words, I had none of my money in the deal, and I was still making money. And infinite comes out of here then. And that was my first investment. Since then, I still invest in real estate. For those interested in real estate, this here's a Bible. It's called the Real Book of Real Estate. You want to know anything about real estate? It's in here. It's all different. There's so many different ways you can make money with real estate. So if you're really interested in becoming one, here's the Real Book of Real Estate. Different investors talking about how they do it. And then I wrote this book here with a real estate guy, Donald Trump. And I met Donald in the green room at the Javits Center in New York City. And there was about 8 or 10,000, I don't know how many people. We did it at Marconi Center in San Francisco. And Donald and I traveled the world teaching real estate all over the world. In the meantime, then I met Kenny McElroy. And back when I met Kenny, flipping property was really, people would buy a house and flip it for money. And I don't flip. So when I met Kenny, we were talking, I said, you're probably a flipper. Kenny says, no, I don't flip because I'm going for the infinite return. And Kenny was the first guy besides myself and my rich dad who understand how to make money with nothing. So with that, I've been with Kenny. I've been best of friends for like 30-something years now. We've traveled the world with a lot of laughs. Kenny got detained in Moscow. I don't know what for, but he got detained there. But it's been nothing but a great road trip all over the world together for 30 years. And now Kenny puts on these huge real estate seminars that I recommend. I'll have him talk to you about it. But if you're really serious about real estate, it's more than just buying a two-bedroom house and flipping it. So again, this is the Bible, Rich Dad's Real Guide, real book of real estate, all the different ways you can invest in real estate. And with that, I want to bring on Kenny McElroy. We're going to talk about our favorite subject, real estate. Welcome, Kenny.
Hey, how are you? Great to see you as always.
Good to see you. We've had some laughs, haven't we?
Oh my gosh, so many. We would get in trouble if we go on and on and on. But being on the road together is so fun. But there's a lot of pranks and a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of work. It's fun to teach, but at the same time, we have a lot of fun.
But anyway, when people say, "How did I get rich?" I just know Kenny McElroy, because Kenny was the only other guy I met who back in I forget what now, they were flipping properties. I'd like to flip because it takes a long time to find a great property. Why would you sell it? So Kenny was the first guy that didn't flip it, and we use infinite returns. And that means we use none of our money to make money. In other words, we use brain power. So welcome to the show, Kenny, and a lot of laughs and all this. Would you mind giving people a little bit how your background in real estate really quickly on this one?
Sure, I'll give the quick version. Well, when I was in college, I started managing apartments for free rent, and there's nothing better than actually doing something. As you know, you can read about it, you can watch videos, you can do whatever, you can hear people discuss it, but at the end of the day, unless you do it, you don't really learn. So it was actually kind of neat because I was in school for business, but I was studying it, technically. And so by actually sitting there collecting rent, looking at the expenses, coding the bills, and understanding cash flow from a business standpoint, well, that was really my first huge education. And I really liked the business because there's a tremendous amount of freedom. I understood it for whatever reason. For me, it was like water off of a duck's back. I liked property management. I like the tenant, the relationship side of it. I like the business side of it. I like the freedom side of it. And I just really continue to do that for a long time for other people, Robert. And then one day I was like, I'm on the wrong side of the desk. I need to start buying these. But I really believe that I needed that time frame in the beginning, that the education side, to be able to see, like what you said earlier, to be able to see something that's broken.
Yeah.
Maybe it's highly vacant. Maybe the expenses are high. Maybe it has bad debt. Maybe whatever there, maybe it just needs some new capital to be refreshed, whatever it is. But having gone through the property management grind and seeing it from an operational standpoint gave me the power and the strength to be able to buy. Now we own 10,000 apartments. We've got about 400 employees, and there's a zillion lessons there as well. But I'm a cash flow guy. I like infinite returns, like you were talking about earlier. I used that. I used the tax law, which I didn't know any of this stuff when I started. Not one thing, I swear. I didn't learn any of this in school. I just learned it from doing. And then, of course, I was on my own journey as well, trying to be better at what I was trying to do, trying to understand tax, trying to understand debt, trying to understand equity, trying to understand where to buy and why, and all of that. And it's been a blessing, all of it.
Yeah, real estate, people think, "I'm just gonna buy a house to get rich." And that's not it. And the amount of study and experience and all the things you have to understand before you get into it. So the other thing, that happened with Kenny is he realized he was doing business with guys like me, talk about the other side of the desk. So these guys would come up, and Kenny would hand over checks, all this cash to this guy who owned the place, and the lights go on in Kenny's head. He goes, "I'm on the wrong side of the table." So what he did is, he went to go for the investor side, not the operation side. So he became an investor. So when I met Kenny, when he said he was in property management, my lights went on, because if you can't manage property, you shouldn't be in real estate, because real estate is highly property management. It's all management. So that's why you've written a couple of books on real estate that part of the Rich Dad series. Would you mind telling us those books that for people who just get started?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Well, the first one with encouragement from you was the ABCs of real estate investing, and 20 years ago, and I remember you really saying, listen, like there's a lot of people that would like to know how you've done this, and I didn't really understand the power of books and the power of that, and it was really an eye opener for me to be able to pour out what I've done to that point and into a book and have millions of people read it. And then after that was the advanced guide, which was a little bit more technical. And then the property management book, ABCs of property management, the ABCs of raising capital, and of course the ABCs of buying rental property. So all of those books were educational pieces for really to teach with while we were traveling around with you.
Yeah. And that's why I said a lot of people, when I met Kenny 30 years ago, people were flipping, and people still flip. But to me, you do a flip, you got a short-term capital gains problem. And the reason why I have Ken on board, he's so sophisticated that it goes back to my original deal. My rich dad said for me back in 74, how do you buy real estate with nothing? Other people's money and still make money. So if you have none of your money into the property, and I was making 25 bucks, that was an infinite return. He we buy property, Kenny fixes it, and then he borrows out the equity. So he takes a property with bad valuation, appreciate, like NOI, net operating income. He increases it, and the increase in income or rent, he borrows out and he gives it back to the investor. So when I met Kenny, the reason I'm a rich man today, for many reasons, we have none of our money in the deals. We're going for infinite returns. And that comes from these 2 points here. But I don't recommend you try that unless you're really ready to study, put in the hard work, make your mistakes, and it's worth it. So, Kenny, we got 2 minutes before the first break. What's your definition of infinite returns?
Well, infinite return is simply owning something that produces cash flow when you have no investment in it.
Right.
I think, that's the definition. And so the question is, how do you do that? Like, there's a lot to it. First you got to find the right deal. So in a real simple way to explain it, I look for broken. I look for things that lenders own. I look for things that are poorly managed. I look for things with upside. Think about a vacant building that you've driven by 100 times. That would be broken because somebody owns it, but there's no rent coming in. So all you do something as simply as finding a tenant for the building. It could be that simple. So, and then once it's, I would call it fixed, then you really just go put debt against it to replace the debt or the money that you already put down. And I'm simplifying it, but it really is quite fun if because everybody wins, right? You're finding an opportunity and you're helping investors, you're helping lenders, you're helping people that are property management and people are happy. So I love the business. I just think it's the greatest thing ever. Once I discovered it, it's hard to unsee it, right? Like once you know how to invest money and it's 2, 3, 4 years short term, and then you're pulling it back out and just redeploying it. It really starts to get fun.
So I had the pleasure of traveling with Kenny once to look at a property. I think it was in San Antonio. And I was there with your fix-it guy, the guy that actually did your construction. And it was a skip of the Titanic. I think it was like 300 units or something. And there was nothing there. They opened up the walls, they took all the copper out. And sitting in the middle of the living room was the toilet. Just,
Yeah.
I remember that. I'm going, man, this is a horrible looking property. And all Kenny did was look to his guy who could fix it. He goes, no big deal. So what they did was they took that property, you got it for a song so undervalued, then I put my money in, Kenny takes the money, then improves the property, then increases the rent. And the increase in rent is what services the debt. Is that basically it?
Yeah, here I'll just give the fast version. So it was bank owned. That's the first thing. So the bank had a problem and it was 50% vacant. So, because of my background in property management and be able to fix stuff,
Yeah.
I wasn't afraid of that at all. So I knew how to fix it. I didn't know if it was going to take a year or 2 years, but I knew I could put the team together because of my background that I explained before. So the money that we put down and the negotiation with the bank and all that stuff was all great. And I knew how to pull all that together. The question was, what would it be worth when I fixed it? So you always got to start with what are you paying, and then what are you worth? What is it worth when you fix it? So we bought the note for about 20 million. We put 7.5 in, and I knew it was going to be worth over 40 in 2 years. That's based on just fixing something that's broken. And it actually being appraised for about 42 million. So we ended up hitting the business plan the way that I thought. And at that point, we put new debt on, pulled the original capital out. And at that point, everybody had zero in. And that's kind of the point. That means that from there, we were infinite.
Get the income.
Yes. We didn't sell the property. Everyone stayed in. All the people stayed in. They just got their money back.
Again, before we go to break, there's one last thing I've seen Kenny do. There was a property. I think what he did was he put in washing machines or something. So he borrowed money to put washing machines in. It increased the rent, and the rent then covered all the costs of the washing machines, plus the building.
Yep.
Another infinite return. So
Yep.
that's
just another strategy. I'll go in more detail after the break on that one.
Yeah. So it's not just one way. And it takes creativity, it takes guts, but it takes a lot of experience and years of, making a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah. Okay.
So we come back with Kenny McElroy. He's the author of The Rich Dad's Guide to, ABCs of Real Estate, Property Management, and Financing Properties. So we're right back because what you want today is an infinite return. You make money without any of your money being in the deal. We'll be right back.
Isn't about a market crash. It's about how money is changing. Today, every payment is logged, every transaction is tracked. And now AI is layered on top of the system to predict behavior, not just record it. That's how control increases, quietly, gradually, without headlines. When systems are under pressure, rules change, access gets restricted, spending gets flagged, and savers lose purchasing power first. That's why gold and silver have mattered for centuries. They sit outside the digital grid. They can't be edited, frozen, or reprogrammed. If you want a clear explanation of what's changing and how people are positioning, Priority Gold put it all together in a free Rich Dad Wealth Defense Guide. Call 866-703-9895 or take out your phone now and text the word GUIDE to 24999 and they'll send it straight to you. Text GUIDE to 24999 now to get your free copy of the Rich Dad Wealth Defense Guide from Priority Gold.
Welcome back, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Radio Show. My special guest today has been a long-time friend, over 30 years now, Ken McElroy. He's made me a very rich man. But Kenny talks about his aha moment was that he's in college, he's property management. He collects all the rent, he manages the property, and this investor pulls up, and Kenny gives the cash to the investor. And that was the lights went on, so Kenny switched sides of the table. And now I'm one of those investors that comes up to Kenny, and he makes a lot of people very, very rich with zero of their own money in the deal. He's 100% debt. Now, don't try this at home unless you're willing to practice, because debt can kill you one way or the other. And the reason I want to bring Kenny up right now is this. Everybody keeps talking about what's the Fed doing? I'm going to throw you a cold, bro. What's interest rates? All this stuff. It's important. But when people keep talking about the Fed, how much does that affect your thinking? The Federal Reserve Bank, should I say?
Well, I first of all, you got to watch that stuff. Those are indicators for sure. But I think for a lot of people, they're just a distraction from actually getting busy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's important, but the Fed doesn't, everything that they do takes a year to a year and a half to 2 years to even hit the economy. Like everything, like an interest rate increase, or so they're a slow moving animal. The market, the stock market, definitely reacts, and those kinds of things. Obviously based on some decisions, but real estate it's a slow moving animal, and a quarter point here, quarter point there. I'm not going to say it's not important, but I don't understand why there's so much focus on it. It's if you focus on cash flow, if the Fed's lowering the federal funds rate and interest rates are going down and the 10 years going down and all that stuff, then you just refinance on the way down. It's a slow process. If you fix your rate, and the rates go up, you're hedged. You're good, but you just make sure it cash flows every single time, so you don't have to worry about the Fed. So the Fed is something that you got to watch, but it's no different than the way I watch a tenant or a vendor or anything. Like it's just one thing.
Well, the way I look at it is the Fed is like the cost of the money because we're
Yep.
using 100% debt. And the reason I mentioned my first property, this was back in 74, a piece of one-bedroom apartment in Maui. I think it was $18,000 was the total price. I needed 10% down. Now I could have put $1,800 down and got the property, but I used my credit card. So I maxed out my credit card, and I'm paying about 30% interest on that credit card, and it's still cash flowed. So all it is the price of the money. It's like the price of electricity, the price of water, the price of sewage and all this. It's just an expense out there, but you have to pay attention to it. So Kenny, when you one thing more you talked to me about this is called deal flow. How many deals are you looking at as a everyday practice?
Well, we have an investment committee with 10 people that meet every week. And there's a tremendous amount of work that's done before that meeting. So in fact, right now during this filming, there's a pre-investment committee meeting that I'm not on, to review deal flow. So to answer your question, there's hundreds of deals right now we're looking at, probably 20 seriously, underwriting most of those to see if they make any sense at all. And then it's typical for an investment committee to look at 1 to 3 a week, and we'll make an offer on one or two a week, and probably get zero. There's a whole process of looking at the deals, getting information from the brokers, underwriting it, seeing if it cash flows, and then most of those don't even make, they're on the cutting room floor, I guess is a great analogy. And then the ones that actually come, they usually have to have some kind of story, some kind of upside, some kind of cash flow. Like I'll give you an example. We're looking at a deal right now that's a 2025 build, and we made an offer for 127,000 a unit,
Wow.
brand new construction. And which is, maybe some people know what that means. That's $100,000 discount that the person that built it per unit, and it's 250 units. So you can imagine it's like a $25 million discount. Now, I might get it, we might not get it, but those are the kinds of ones. They have a great story. It's not highly occupied yet, so we can fix the management. And we're looking at stuff like that a lot, Robert. Last week, we made an offer on 6 properties, 1,410 units that were lender owned. So every week, there's something new.
Yeah. The reason I say that, the average person, they go to school to get a job, they have a 401k, and they don't even look at the deal. They just go to the financial planner just puts money in their 401k. They learn nothing. I think that's the biggest crime. With real
Yeah.
estate, high risk, but you have to learn a lot to be successful. With a 401k, it's just hit or miss. Let's say you start investing a 401k at 25, and hopefully at 65 you have money left, but there's no guarantee of it. So the reason Kenny and we talk all over the world, we teach, we encourage people to go out there and learn to put your own deals together. And you might look at, and I remember when I was first looking for my first property in Honolulu after the real estate course, and I wasn't successful. And my rich dad said to me, "This is the reason is you haven't looked at enough deals." It was like the lights going on. I said, "My God," he says, "You got to step up what Kenny calls deal flow. Look, talk, invest." People look at one, they quit, they go home. There's nothing out there. Oh, the Fed said this, and there's nothing out there. And all the Fed is the cost of your money. It's like the cost of your water, your electricity. That's all it is. But it's important. So what would you encourage the we call him the FNG, the
Yeah.
FNU guy to do? How should they get started?
Well, I think that the reason that you wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, the reason that you created the Rich Dad company, and the reason I teach and the reason I do books is one is that the way the system works is that Wall Street reaches in everyone's pocket and uses your money anyway. Like
Yeah.
they make you put it into a bank, you put it into a pension, you put it into an insurance company, you put it into a retirement account. Those are all people making money off of what I would call Main Street. And so when you wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad, what you did is you woke up Main Street. You gave people you enlightened them and said, wow, I guess I do have options rather than turn my money over. And I think that's what drives me is if you're just gonna work your butt off and turn your money over and not understand why or how and then hope, that's why you wrote the book Who Stole My Pension. Like, people are doing this, it's a travesty. Now the interesting thing is that they are in control of their future. They are making choices themselves. If people just understood that the right thing to do is actually use Wall Street. Use it. It's like a tool in your tool belt. Like, be Main Street, but use Wall Street, because otherwise you're getting used by Wall Street. You're either the consumer or the producer. And so that's what drives me, Robert, is we're helping people understand that do your own thing, make your own money, but just understand that you are a product.
Yeah.
You are a
Most
product of Wall Street. They're
what
making
I say to
fees off of
people,
you and directing you on where to go.
yeah. I say to people, I can tell a person by what they do, what they invest in, what they do with their time, what do they invest their money in, things like this. When I was a kid, my rich dad was flying to Honolulu going to seminars. And my poor dad's like, how stupid your friend's father is. He goes to seminars. There's only one place you can get an education. That's a college or university. I mean, that's how stupid my poor dad was. And we do seminars, Kenny do seminars all over the world. We have friends doing seminar now. Now you have YouTube. There's so much information available to people, but you still have to have the basic foundation in the brain to process the information. So would you mind telling people what seminars that you do so people can come and hear you in person,
Yeah.
and you'll be there to teach?
Well, I think college for me, Robert, gave me an opportunity to realize that I needed I needed some education. Now, I don't believe you get financial education in college, but what it did is it made me realize that there's a lot I need to know. And so, like you, I started reading books and watching things and going to seminars and trying to, I guess, sharpen my saw, my personal saw, because that's all I have control over is how I think. So, and then obviously through doing that, jumping on board with you guys and Rich Dad, and you guys give me that incredible opportunity to travel the world and all that stuff, and your mind just continually opens as you meet really smart people all over the world. And so as we've built our investor base, and we've invested, thousands and thousands of people's money over the years, I realized that everyone kind of still has the same question. You
Yeah.
know, who's telling the truth? You know, like who's telling the truth about oil and gas or gold and silver or real estate or debt or, mobile home development or self-storage or single family or flips or whatever. And so we put together a room of those folks, the people that I call people that are really doing it, not people that are just teaching it on
Real
YouTube.
people. Real
And we
people.
put a room together at our Limitless Expo, every year, which is this year. It's in Phoenix, August 14th, 15th, and 16th with my partner, Taro Yarber. And, you're obviously a mainstay there, teaching what you teach. But we have 2,000 people show up. It's a high net worth room. And so if you're looking for a network or you're looking to be in the right room, because I think that's the key to this is like, who do you trust? Like you called me the other day and said, what, all this AI, we've got all this AI online. What's real? You were telling me that somebody commented on on an AI video of you and you said, the guy did a pretty good job. Like when you're in a room listening to real speakers,
Yeah.
it's not AI. It's you got real people teaching real things that they're working on. So that Limitless Expo to me is a great in-person seminar for people. We got 50 speakers all talking about different stuff. And hopefully, they address some of the things that are on your mind.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this conference that we do once a year.
So again, it's called the Limitless, and what the dates again?
Yeah, it's limitlessexpo.com, and it's August 14th, 15th, and 16th in Scottsdale, Arizona. And also, Robert, if they type in Ken 10, then they'll get a 10% discount on the ticket. But it's sold out 4 years in a row. This is our 5th year. And literally, this is 6 months from now. And most people wait till the last minute. Hopefully you don't, because if you just never know.
That's thousands of people. It's so much to learn. You might meet your future business partner or your future ex-wife or something there. But anyway, it's always, you find people are interested in their education, not just with their 401k.
Well,
Well, the
every
last time,
year I learned something. That's how I
yeah,
got into
oh,
the billboard business, like,
yeah,
like the kids we're in the billboard business now, we're buying billboards at cash flow. It's
yeah,
all because of the conference. You got people doing cool stuff all over the world and to have them all in one space, it's a blessing.
yeah. The last funny story is we have this guy gets a Richard Ton. He's up there saying, "Yeah, I'm buying property in America, and he says the prices are so good." And he's telling you this deal and that deal and all this. And Kenny goes up on stage as Richard talk bragging about his deal. Richard's a character, but Kenny says, "Hey, the reason the prices are so good, you're not investing in America, you're investing in Mexico."
Remember that? I couldn't believe it. He was so proud. We were in Singapore at the time, and he put this chart up, and it was clear. I mean, I guess if you're from Singapore, you don't know where the border is, but you and I are looking at it. It's clear that where he invested was not the U.S., which is
No,
why he got such a good deal.
the prices were so good.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, Kenny, thank you for the years and years and years. You made me a very rich man, but most importantly, it's always fun doing, working with you, teaching with you. And I'm looking forward to the Limitless event in August, because that's where I go to learn. I meet new people, new ideas, because things are changing too fast to think you're highly educated with your college education. You've got to keep investing in your education, meeting new people, and finding out what's happening in the real world. So Kenny, thank you. And then when I come back, we find out with a final word from Rich Dad. So thank you. Thanks again, Kenny.
Thank you.
Welcome back. I thank Ken McElroy, my business partner. And for full disclosure, we don't recommend anything. We're a financial education company. We'll tell you what we do, but we don't suggest that you do it. And I think we're in serious financial trouble because our leaders don't know how to use debt. But if you're going to be a successful investor in real estate, you need to learn how to use debt, because debt is how we get infinite returns. So with that, there's so much to learn. And the biggest investment you can make is an investment between this acreage here, between your left ear and your right ear. And that's where infinite returns come from, but also infinite losses. So that's why your financial education is more important today than ever before. So thank you all for being followers of the Rich Dad Radio Show, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.